morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. Thanks for listening. Feel free to give us a call at 612-504-8400 or havenfinancialgroup.com. All kinds of retirement tools, educational events, announcements, if you will, 10-year anniversary. And, of course, we got a great client appreciation event coming up September 4th at Charlie's on Prior Lake. Kim, these topics can get a little stuffy. So our clients and us, we like to have a little bit of fun as well. And we'll be at Charlie's on Prior September 4th. And our events are all fun.
Good. That's fantastic. That's something for everybody to look forward to. And if you need more information, how do people get information about that? Maybe you've got clients who are listening right now. They just need to call the office or check the website, right?
Yep. Online, give us a call. RSVP, please. And again, live music, all kinds of fun. So again,
super.
Yep.
That's great. We're talking about retirement preparedness. Are you ready to retire? We've talked about a number of things that you need to keep in mind, but we wanted specifically to talk about what I think is the most important part of retirement planning. And that's, of course, understanding how you get a paycheck, how you get money. Obviously, you know that your Social Security check is maybe going to be deposited if, in fact, you're drawing Social Security. But how do you draw from all of these different pots that you've put your money into? And are there specific, kinds of plans that make it more advantageous for you? And the answer to that is certainly yes. So let's talk about this. You call it mailbox money, Larry. I know that money that shows up, 2 times a month, once a month, whatever it might be.
Income in retirement is the name of the game. There's no doubt about it. So what are your income sources? You mentioned Social Security at some stage, pension, if you're fortunate enough. What are your other income sources? And income for the things that you want, the things that you really want, and things more specifically that you need. Cover the needs, then cover the wants. Sure. We all need food, shelter, and certain things, but we also maybe want a lifestyle, either the country club or fishing equipment or whatever that is. So income is the name of the game. Does it adjusted for inflation? Is it exposed to too much risk? Have you covered emergency expenses? You know that I frequently say that we like folks to have a good amount of liquidity, money in the bank, easy access. For a middle 60s, 70-year couple, we like to see 50 to 100 grand in that area. Now, you don't have to, but it's, I think, a good goal. And then what's your risk in the stock market? Is that a good balance with investments? Maybe that you have some principal preservation. So I'm going to map this out. When folks retire, and we see it all the time, where are they going to draw from? They don't know. What really drives it is taxes, back to taxes. You mentioned a bunch of different buckets. Well, hopefully you have all the different buckets to choose from. Again, from liquidity to stock market, maybe you have annuities. Annuities can be very good at generating income, kind of a self-directed if it's appropriate. My wife and I will never have a pension, but we're able to generate income from an annuity or other income sources or other investment sources. But again, it takes strategizing and figuring that out. But everything is driven by taxes. So we're big in the tax planning. And I can tell you, most people today are not doing much planning. They're just barely getting their taxes prepared by a tax preparer or CPA that doesn't even spend any time with them to walk through some of these things. So every week we see unforced errors or missed opportunities where an IRA to Roth conversion could have happened, didn't happen. Nobody told them. The people draw from the wrong investments. They pay way more taxes than they really need to. So again, having a partner to rely on, that's the key and the name to the game. So you're doing things correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have learned just by doing this show with you, Larry, that there really is some strategy in when and how much you draw from all of your different, I'm going to call it buckets again.
Yeah, it is. And, we get the investment team involved. We'd get Lance, our CPA, involved. We're coordinating all these different things in retirement because they should work together. And oftentimes they're working in different directions. I mentioned annuity for income, if appropriate. If you're listening and you have an annuity and you don't know which kind of annuity of the 4 types that are out there, come on in and get an annuity exam or an annuity x-ray. I think people should know which one they have, and a lot of people have them. Some people have them, they shouldn't have them. Others have them and they don't know how it's going to work. And we don't want negative surprises. We want to know the ins and outs, certainly before we do anything. And life insurance can have value to that. There's some features that life insurance can have. If you have life insurance, bring it on in. A lot of times it just sits and never gets looked at, and some things negatively can happen to the performance of that. So bring that in, and we can have a life insurance review with Glenn. All of these things just to make sure that they're going to do what they're supposed to do, and there's not going to be negative surprises. And again, we believe retirement is more than a meeting once or twice a year for 45 minutes to an hour. That's just not enough time. And whoever is working with you deserves to give you more time, because remember, you're paying them to do something.
Right. Absolutely. Also, in this second phase or third phase of your life, whatever it might be, what if you decide that you want to go back to work, or there's another opportunity out there for you and you really don't want to pass it up?
That's always an option. Many people adjust to the transition of retirement and they're happy as can be, but not everybody does. I just had a flight attendant that actually retired after many, many, many years. And I asked her how it was going, and she says, I don't like this retirement thing. And she's actually going to go back part-time to work. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you can't, but I'd rather see people do that because they want to rather than they need to because they're running out of money. That's unfortunate, but working is an option. So don't rule that out, because you got to have a purpose. I just had one of my clients in this past week, and she was a retired teacher from Lakeville. And she told me she's actually going to work at this bakery in Lakeville that's doing exceptionally well. And they got a lot of high schoolers that will go back to school. Uh-huh. And she goes, I got to have some sort of purpose, and I really like it. And she's super excited about it. And she goes, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it to have some sort of purpose. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it is. It is really cool. And I think that idea of keeping oneself busy after you've had a very busy life is probably very important. Does that have any kind of impact on what you're drawing and how you're drawing if you would decide to go back to work? And again, I think that my point where I'm trying to go with this is, again, you do need a plan, and you need to be able to talk about these things with someone before you just start to make money again.
Very, very true. Depending upon your age, there might be some income plateaus that you may not want to go over for the sake of your Social Security. So you're going to want to have those conversations, prior to full retirement age. The threshold is just right around 23,000, where if you make over that, they'll withhold some of your Social Security. So you're going to want to have these conversations, like you said, before you act on them. Doesn't mean you're not going to do them, but there are many components and options for your retirement and for your income. And if you're listening and you haven't fully explored all these options and are just sticking with what you've always done because you don't know anything different, how do you know you're making the most out of what you're doing, out of your savings? How do you know you're making the right decisions? And if that sounds like you, give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you and explore those options. You have nothing to lose, and it costs you nothing. And you may only have something to gain from it. And what's better than that?
Absolutely right. It costs you nothing, but a mistake along the way could cost you a lot. And we're all going to make mistakes, but if we can avoid some of these really big ones, drawing money at the wrong time from the wrong accounts, that ultimately means you send much more to Uncle Sam than you probably needed to, or not checking on your life insurance to see if in fact everything is up to date, and maybe that there's advantages to changing the life insurance policy. There's all kinds of mistakes that can happen along the way, not because it's just because you don't do this very often. And, a partner in that can certainly help you save money along the way. 612-504-8400. That's the number. You can reach the folks at Haven Financial Group. They would love to hear from you. We're talking about retirement preparedness. Are you prepared to retire? It's a question I think a lot of people ask themselves many times, probably before they actually take the steps. And before you take those steps, we hope that you call the folks at Haven Financial Group. Make sure that you're in the right place. When we come up, we're going to talk about leveling costs. It's key when we're talking about retirement income. This is the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.